There we go. Now it's paying attention. Now it's listening to what I'm telling it. Yeah, no idea what's going on there. But yeah, that should not have happened. There. Boop. Alright, whatever. Anywho, as I was starting to say before I was so rudely interrupted by my computer saying it wanted to crash. Dragon Wings. There's a cycle of these. Um, there's one for every color that basically turns around and says, hey, I'm a 2-mana enchantment that I give, like, I give enchant creature some ability. But whenever a sufficiently expensive creature enters, I get to jump into play from the graveyard attached to that creature. I don't think they all have cycling. Set Scourge. Oh. Battlefield attached. No, they do. In fact, Dragon Wings is the only one that's got cycling. White gives +1/+2 in Vigilance. They're all 2 mana as well. I don't know if we'll cover the others or not, but just quickly, the black one gives +1/+0 in Fear, which is can't be blocked except by black and/or artifact creatures. Red is Haste and Fire Breathing, which was relevant for a bit in Vintage because relevantly it came into play from the graveyard and gave haste. Dragon Fangs +1/+1 and Trample. But Dragon Wings, hilariously, this one you could get to work all on its own because its self reanimating ability requires it to, well, be in the graveyard first. While to get in the graveyard, you can cycle it. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's like you pay 2 mana, draw an extra card, and then eventually get a big expensive creature in play and go, hey, by the way, it now has flying on top of everything else. So there are ways to make it work. Enjoy. Riptide Survivor. Really wish this was common because I could have put in my commons only mono blue deck that, tries to draw a bunch of cards. 3 mana for a 2/1. Morph cost of 3. Slightly harder morph cost. When it's turned face up, discard 2 cards, then draw 3. The being able to draw 3 is not attached to the fact, is not attached to you whether or not you discarded 2 cards or not. It doesn't hinge on that. So you could only have 1 card left in hand. You could be empty-handed when you turn this face up. And And if that ends up being a thing, if that ends up being a thing, then you do as much as you can. You discard the two cards that. See, if you have less than two cards in hand, discard all the cards you have. If you have no cards in hand, you can discard 0 and draw 3. There's a reason why it's, 3 to morph it. Yeah. Pretty decent card if you want something that you can turn face up to draw cards. Especially if you empty your hand fairly easily. But that's now blue covered. Black. Black. Fatal Mutation. Probably wouldn't play it. When enchant creatures turn face up, destroy it. It can't be regenerated. It's cute, but again, the number of ways that you can cheat stuff into being turned face up. Probably wouldn't bother. Putrid Raptor. 6 mana for 4/4, but it's got morph of discard a zombie card, which means you can play it face down for 3, and at any time discard any zombie you want. Maybe something that can come back into play from the graveyard, like, what do you call it? I'm drawing a blank on the name. I hate it when that happens. No. Gravecrawler? You may cast this from a graveyard as long as you control a zombie. Yeah. So you can turn this face up and have a 4/4 with no drawback, and then cast Gravecrawler and get, what is it, a 2/1? Yeah, 2/1. So for 4 mana, you got a 4/4 and a 2/1 in play. I don't see a drawback. But yeah, I'm not saying you should run although if you don't run Gravecrawler there, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, if you're running Putrid Raptor, you run zombies that can do something for you from the graveyard. Is Icarid a zombie? I don't remember. No, it's a horror. But yeah, find zombies that have uses somehow while they're in the graveyard. Stuff that can be exiled from the graveyard, stuff that can come back from the graveyard, stuff that have just random abilities while they're in the graveyard. Or whatever. Chill Haunting. Chill Haunting you kind of want as a removal spell, but honestly, I wouldn't play this. Especially with, in the modern days of things like Ultimate Price and Cast Down and, the various edict effects and everything else, wouldn't do it. Additional cost, exile X target, X creature card from your graveyard. You're going to want most of the creature cards in your graveyard for some reason or other. Unless you happen to be one of those handful of decks where once it's in your graveyard, it doesn't do anything for you. If that's the case, then go ahead and play Chill Haunting, and this will kill things that other things won't, because -X bypasses things like indestructible. So be aware of that. Also, sometimes just shrinking a creature by a bit is sometimes enough to do what you need. Kill, shrink a creature during combat so you can eat it and get bonuses for Sengir Vampire or whatever. Zombie Cutthroat. I mentioned this card earlier. Actually, no. I meant to mention this card earlier. I pulled up something else instead. I forget what it was. Oh, it might have been Ruthless Ripper. Yeah, 5 mana for a 3/4. Meh. Overcosted by at least 1 but at that point. I think 3/4 you might have been able to get away with like triple black. Morph, pay 5 life. Which really realistically means that you had a 3/4 creature that cost, because you're gonna cast it face down and then pay 5 life. And you're going to have, it's basically 3 mana as additional cost to cast this, pay 5 life, and have a 3/4 creature. Feels a bit strong, not nearly so bad when you're looking at Commander. Yeah, it's fine. It's a 3/4 creature that costs you 3 mana. You can probably do better, but even so nowadays, it's not easy to find a, like, especially something with a relevant creature type, a 3/4 for 3 mana that you can cast off of, like, it's black, but you can cast straight generic. It's fine. It's one of those like 63rd or 64th card sort of things maybe. But it might find a home in some slots. Clutch of Undeath. Clutch of Undeath is cute. If you're playing zombies, at least look at this card. Now, I'm not going to say you have to play it, but at least look at it. Half the time this is going to be, a big pump, and half the time it's going to be a removal spell. And the reason why it costs 5 mana is because it can be either one. And again, -X deals with some things that Destroy and whatever can't deal with very easily. Somebody's got a stuffy doll in play, kill it. What? Yeah, just kill it. No, just kill it. Go away. I'm primarily looking at this for if I'm playing zombies and I want like a big pump spell on one specific zombie. Lingering Death. At the beginning of the end step of enchant creature's controller, that player sacrifices that creature. One of the few cards that I can think of that basically turn around and, I mean, because it's it's an aura with enchant creature, that basically force a player to sacrifice a specific creature. No, you're sacrificing that. This is true, like I just said, because this is an aura that enchants the creature in question. The funny thing is, if you can find a way to bounce the creature around to other players before your end step begins, you can't sacrifice it. It could just keep bouncing around with the aura on it. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Um, but yeah, it's a honestly, you want most edict effects over this. The only reason to play this over other edict effects is it's an aura. And if you've got any sort of aura synergies, that's why. Or enchantment synergies, that's why you play this. Otherwise, nah, play the other effects. Final punishment. Target player loses life equal to the damage already dealt to that player this turn. Keep in mind, it tracks damage. Not how much has your life total gone down? Damage specifically. Because damage can be dealt to creatures, players, battles, planeswalkers, etc. Life loss is only to players. So, if something says this deals 3 damage to target player, that would count towards final punishment. If it says target player loses 3 life, it does not, because that was life loss. That's not damage. This is why the cards like this are a little more finicky. It's doable, but you'd have to build your deck. I would say you have to build your deck around it. This is not just throw it into whatever. This is no. You have to build your deck around it. Of course, this also gets funny when you start adding things like once you get things like damage doublers and whatever involved, this gets out of hand and can just be like your finishing blow to kill off a player. Cabal Interrogator. I don't generally recommend discard effects in general for Commander because it's not that style of. I don't see it as that style of game. It doesn't mean you can't play it that way, but I don't see it that way. It feels, to me, it feels wrong. That's something that's acceptable in like a competitive format, but at the kitchen table, you want people to have a good time. You know, this is the sort of game of Magic that you want for like you haven't seen each other in like 10 years. Hey, let's play. Let's get into like this big crazy 3-hour multiplayer game and just the it's less the game itself is less important than spending time with each other, sort of thing. Cabal Interrogator, I would be less unhappy with, partly due to the fact that they get some agency on what you get to see. Um, don't go in, don't do the don't do the silly. Hey, by the way, I can generate a whole bunch of mana and I can untap this multiple times. Don't do that. You can. I would give you a psionic slap upside the head if you did, but you can. But if you're going to do that, there's easier ways to pull that off. Um, Death's Head Buzzard. Wow, I can't word. When it dies, all creatures get -1/-1 till end of turn. I mean, you might as it. Can you recur this multiple times? You know what I find is funny is this is just a bird. It's not like a zombie bird or something like that. It's just a bird. I'm just a bird. Doo-doo. Uh, yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, when it dies, all creatures get -1/-1 till end of turn. If you want that effect, just play an effect like Nausea or Infest and its variants. Give all creatures -2/-2 till end of turn. For an extra mana over this, you get all your mutilate style effects. Um, God, what's the one that gives -4? Languish. Yeah, so for an extra mana you get Languish, which can kill a lot of things. Or for like 1 or 2 mana, you can get effects like Nausea that can just kill all the small stuff. Virulent Plague? You the one I want? Virulent Plague creature tokens -2. I can't remember what the smaller one is. There's one that's like 1 mana, gives them all -1/-1. Illness in the ranks. Yeah, so I mean, there's enough ways to get that. Cabal conditioning we talked about a bit earlier. Um, if you're playing a discard strategy, if Cabal conditioning is really good. If you want a quick and easy way to discard your hand, there's this combined with anything that costs, a reasonable amount of mana, you know, like Scornful Egotist being an 8 drop. But again, you can do better. But that being said, if you're just discarding your own hand, one with nothing. Consumptive Goo. A lot more interesting. 2 double black for a 1/1. 2 black plus 2. Target creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn. So this temporarily gets -1/-1. Pull +1/+1 counter on Consumptive Goo. But I get a permanent boost. I'm going to bleed you a little bit and make myself permanently stronger. It sounds more like a vampire to me. I'm not going to bleed you dry. But I'm hungry. Yeah. I think this needs to see more play. It can eat a bunch of small stuff so easily and just get as big as you want it to get. The only thing to keep in mind is the target has to be legal when the ability goes to resolve for this to get the counter on it. It's the only thing to keep in mind. Beyond that, have at you. Unburden. A slightly more expensive mind drop, but it has cycling. Again, it's a discard spell. Enough said about discard right now. That being said, if you're to play that sort of thing, like even just like a couple, Unburden I think would be fine because it has other uses. You can just simply pitch it. Red cards. Rock Jockey. Oh man, Rock Jockey I thought was hilarious. 3 mana for a 3/3. If you've played a land this turn, you can't play Rock Jockey. And if you've played if you cast Rock Jockey this turn, you can't play a land. So you can either play a land or you can play the jockey. This feels like one of those cards where it's like, well, I don't have a land drop. Okay, I guess I'll play this now. The biggest problem is nowadays you've got like, 3 2s and 2 3s and possibly even 3 3s at common that have got upside. I mean, you've got like 1 2s for red that, and when I say for red, I mean like a single red mana and nothing else on the cost that have upside. You know, there's one that's like ends up being like you control an artifact. It's a 2/2 with haste. There's one that's got first strike, haste, and something else like a sack ability or something. I forget what it is. And there's a few of them nowadays at common, and they're goblins. So this I see being a tough sell. That being said, it's still a fine creature to cheat and play, but then if you're cheating it and play, you're cheating into play a 3/3 that only has restrictions on how you can play it, and that's it. It doesn't have any, enter the battlefield or leave the battlefield effects or, any combat abilities or this or that. It's just a 3/3. Once it's hit the board, it's just a 3/3. Eh? But back in the day, I thought it was hilarious. Would not play nowadays. Even in the goblin deck, would not play nowadays. Even in commons only goblins, probably wouldn't play it. Bonethorn Vallesk. Whenever a permanent is turned face up, this deals 1 damage to any target. Play it. Feel free to play it. Anyone that's turning their permanents face up by any means, apart from, flicker style effects and whatever else. If they're actually turning it face up somehow, you get to ping stuff. And if you're playing the deck that does it, just do it. Just do it. Anytime you turn something face up with some effect, it's like, hey, by the way, thunk. Start killing your opponent's generals or whatever. Skirk Volcanist. 4 mana for a 3/1. But you can cast it face down as a morph, so 3 mana for a 3/1. Which is easier to handle. Morph costs sack 2 mountains. When you turn it face up, It deals 3 damage, divided as you choose among a number of target creatures. In other words, I can go 3 to this, 2 to this, and 1 to that. Or 1 of this, 1 of this, and 1 of this. Because that's the only way to split up 3 damage. 3, 0, 2, 1. 1, 2 is the same as 2, 1. Or 1, 1, and 1. It's if you've got a way to give it death touch. The funny thing is, if you throw, let's say, Basilisk Collar on it while it's face down, when you turn it face up, it's because, like I said before, it hasn't left the battlefield. It's still going to have the collar on it. So then it will be dealing the 3 damage with death touch. So suddenly you can kill 3 creatures. It's an idea. Misguided Rage. Oh dear. Misguided Rage does potentially give you a way in mono red, not easily, but in mono red, to deal with enchantments. If they don't have you basically have to get them to the point where they've got, let's say, no creatures or no creatures that they're willing to blow up. No lands or no lands that they're willing to blow up. No artifacts or artifacts that they're willing to blow up. Planeswalkers can be attacked and, bolted and whatever else. Battles, same thing. What other permanent types are there? Enchantments. Target player sacrifices a permanent. If they don't have anything else they want to get rid of, they're going to have to start sacrificing enchantments. It's not an easy way to do it, but it is a way to do it. That being said, there's other ways I'd rather do it. But yeah, it's a thing. Thing is, you can take a look at what the board consists of, and you can pretty much tell what your opponent's likely to blow up. They're likely to blow up they have X in play, so they are likely to sacrifice. What am I looking for? Oh wow. Okay, nothing. Oh well. Sorry, just want to check to see what my app said for seeing if there was anything in the chat on. Yeah, nothing. Because system crash and whatever else. Anyway, you can pretty much take a look at what the opponent's got in play and go, if I do that, they're probably going to sacrifice that. Is that fine? Yeah, if it's fine, go for it. Of course, it's even funnier is if you've got a way to play it at instant speed and you've mind slavered them. And then you get to turn around and say, "Oh, hey, by the way, you're gonna sacrifice this, but you're sacrificing this because I control you during your turn." Oh, Goblin Brigand. One of the earliest, they they've been trying to print 2 mana 2/2s for a long time at common. And it's at this point, and I don't mean like modern day, I mean at this point, it was hard because realistically you were looking at like 3 mana got you like a 2/2 with haste. We're talking at common anyway. Higher rarities, especially rare, you could get away with like a 2 mana 2/2 with something, but not easily. Or maybe like a 2 mana 2/1 with like a bunch of abilities. I think you got Silver Knight in this around this time. No, Silver Knight was Pro Red. No, Blood Knight is the one I'm thinking of, which would get you. That would be Time Spiral block. Anyway, it was really hard at that point for you to get a 2 mana 2/2, even just a 2 mana 2/2 vanilla. You're playing green, no problem. You're playing white, not easy, but they did exist. You're playing blue, black, or red, forget it. If you did have a 2 mana 2/2, it had some kind of drawback. Um, this is one of the earliest drawbacks that was actually, relatively playable level. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm if you're playing standard, let's say, you have shock and you've got volcanic hammer. Okay, cool. I start killing your creatures. I'm getting through for damage. I have to attack. I'm going to get through for damage. And I think you had pillage. Did you have pillage at this point? I know you had demolish. So, nowadays, and just like what I was saying earlier about Rock Jockey, this has been outclassed. You don't play this unless you've got a real good reason to anymore. Although the funny thing is, it used to say it attacks each turn of Fable, which, could easily be. Oh, well, I've been declared as an attacker this turn, so I'm good for the rest of it. And now it says attacks each combat of Fable. In other words, every time it has the capability to attack, it has to attack. Torrent of Fire, we covered earlier. If you want a healthy sized red burn spell that's got a fixed cost, Torrent of Fire is fine. It's regularly going to do 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. If you're playing in other colors as well, you can potentially get that higher. Keep in mind that anything that's got X in its cost, a lot of Hydras, for example, when it's on the battlefield, X equals 0. When it's anywhere except the stack, i.e. currently being cast, X equals 0. While it's being cast, X is whatever X is. After that, it's 0. Extra arms. Kind of funny if you throw this on something. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's kind of funny if you throw this on something that's got Death Touch. Because at that point, then it becomes whenever enchant creature attacks, destroy target creature. What? 2 damage to any target, but then it's a source. Because it's the creature that's dealing the damage. Yeah. I'm not saying it's the greatest way to spend 5 mana, but it is a way to start killing creatures every turn for 5 mana in mono red. Again, Basilisk Color or Gorgon's Head or whatever. Uncontrolled Infestation. This is basically a downgraded Blight, but an easier cost. Blight was double black enchant land. Whenever enchanted land becomes tap destroyed. This can now only affect a non-basic land. This era specifically, Odyssey block, Onslaught block specifically, more aimed towards non-basic land. It's fine. They still get the use out of it, and if the land happens to be indestructible, nothing happens. But, I honestly, I would play almost everything else before Uncontrolled Infestation so far. Carbonize! 3 mana, 3 damage to any target. If it's a creature, it can't be regenerated this turn. And if it would die this turn, exile it instead. The funny thing is, the 3 damage could be not enough to kill it. But then you hit it with something like Aftershock, which says destroy target creature, which would cause it to die, which would cause it to get exiled. That's a lot of mana, and that's like 7 mana and 2 cards to do exile target creature. It is a legal play. Not saying you should, but it's a legal play. I'd probably make use of the extra arms instead for that. But, you know. That being said, you know, this is... We were already at the point when we considered Lightning Bolt too strong, and even what would eventually get called Lightning Strike or Searing Spear was still a bit ahead. We were playing Volcanic Hammer because we had to, not because we wanted to, which was basically Lightning Strike as a sorcery. Yeah. But based on that, Carbonize was actually okay. It's basically Lightning Strike with a... No. Something tries to send you to go graveyard, you're going away for good. So it was okay, and I would even back then I would prefer to play this over over Volcanic Hammer, but you played Volcanic Hammer because it was 2 mana. But if you really needed to get rid of things, you play this. 3 mana. Yeah. You know what? If I'm looking for burn-based removal, I might actually consider Carbonize. Like Lightning Bolt first, obviously. Again, personal opinion. Not that I recommend Lightning Bolt, etc. Because there's other ways to, they're more expensive, but there's other ways to deal with stuff, even in red. But if I'm looking at burn-based removal, Lightning Bolt is in there. I would probably skip on like Lightning Strike Edda and probably go to Carbonize. Yeah, it's an extra mana, but it gets rid of like other options just so much easier. Oh yeah, Goblin Psychopath. This thing is funny. When you really want to confuse people on who it's actually attacking. 4 mana for 5/5. When it attacks or blocks, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, the next time it would deal combat damage this turn, deals that damage to you instead. Yeah, that's why the goblins behind him are like, ah, I don't know what's going on. If you want a chaos deck where you could even end up getting hit by it, at least look at the psychopath. Chartooth Cougar. Uh, Similar conversation to what we had earlier about the shoreline. Um, Good lord, what were you called? Shoreline Ranger. Except it does not have the benefit of being blue and thus pitching to Force of Will. But 6 mana for 4/4 with Fire Breathing at common is not actually terrible. You know, slightly overcosted, but not by much. And again, it has mountain cycling. I would not be like if I'm playing a mono red deck as an example. This is fine because that fire breathing means next turn I can be hitting for like 10. That's fine. Even if 2 of that mana is coming from like Soul Ring, okay, I'm only hitting for 8. Or in a pinch, I spend a couple mana and I get a land out of my deck. Enrage. He wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Ah, dear. Yep. Yeah, it is from the 70s Hulk series. Ah. Oh, wow. Alright, you're not gonna let me do it. Anyway, whatever. But yeah, that line comes from the. I mean, I remember it being from the 1970s era. The Incredible Hulk, which had Lou Ferrigno playing the Hulk. He's a big guy. And I don't remember who played Banner. But yeah, Enrage, it's literally you took Hell from Beyond from like Alpha and shifted it over into Red. It's the exact same card, you know. And if you want to, the great thing about this compared to an effect like Fire Breathing is you don't have to care about, like, you only need a single red and you just dump everything else as whatever color you've got handy or colorless and just go, here, take an extra 12 damage. What? Yeah, this much is red, this much is green, this is orange, this is purple, this is blah. Take it. But it's sadly not a card that's, the problem with a card like this is you also have to put it up against cards like Brute Force and Infuriate and other cards that are like, here's one mana that does like +2 or +3 power and does this and that. Like, Brute Force is +3/+3. Infuriate is +3/+2. Some of these effects are like +2/+2 or +2/+1, and First Strike and Trample or whatever. And they're like a single red to cast. Or Titan Strength, I think, was like red plus, or one red, and it was like +2/+1 or something like that. And then like Scry 1 or something. So Enrage is very much fallen by the wayside. It is the sort of card that if you are playing with cards like Channel or something remotely similar, where you've got like the green Omnath, the one that, like the mono green Omnath that lets you save up mana, you know, something like that. You could combine with Enrage to just suddenly nuke somebody out of nowhere. But yeah, realistically, wouldn't bother these days. Green cards. Kurgadon. 2 turn 2s and a Kurgadon. So 5 mana for a 3/3. Whenever you cast a creature spell, mana value 6 or greater, put 3/+1 counters on this creature. Again, step 1 to this. Anything with an X spell while it's being, like, with an X cost while it's being cast, X is whatever it is while you're casting it. So if you cast, you know, if you cast a Hydra that's like 2 green +5, or 2 green +X, and you make X equal 5, while it's being cast, it's a 7 mana card, so that will give counters to the Kurgadon. If it's, double X +2, cool. X equal 2, 2 + 2 is 4, +2 is 6. The 2 + 2 is because X equal 2, but you had XX. So double 2 is 4. And then the initial 2, which might be like 2 white or whatever. Plus that 2. So maybe I should have gone X equal 3 and it would have been easier to understand. In which case X equal, the entire cost is 8. And Kurgadon would get its counters. Or, Mirror Enforcer. Cool, it doesn't cost me anything because I got a bunch of artifacts in play. But it's a 7 mana creature. Here you go. So yeah, Kurgadon, if you're playing with enough creatures that can be cast on the cheap, or enough X spells or whatever, yeah. My only thing is this doesn't have anything like trample or anything like that. But then if you cast aggressive mammoth, let's say, well, aggressive mammoth will make it will give it the +3 counters. And then suddenly it's got trample, and if Kirkadon's out first, and it's already been out for a couple of turns by then, you start attacking with probably a 9/9 trample by then. That costs you like 5 mana. Good creature if you've got enough higher casting cost stuff to make it work. Claws of Wirewood. You know where I'm playing Claws of Wirewood? Mono green burn. Why? Because it deals 3 damage to each player. Also flyers, but each player. Also, it has cycling, which is also fun. Also, you technically count as being popular legal because you're in Vintage Masters. I'm like, wait, what? That's funny. Okay, yeah. You might actually play this straight up, just deal with a bunch of like small, small, medium-sized flying creatures. I'm playing it because I want to be able to burn in 8 people playing green. Divergent Growth. 1 green, instant, land suddenly tapped for any color. There's enough ways to get this as a permanent effect. Wouldn't bother, and you can do that on for like 3 mana or thereabouts. That being said, if you do want something that you can just if you just need it like a little bit instead of regularly, it's still fine. Would not bother throwing it on Ice-Crown Scepter, but it's still fine. Accelerated Mutation, we mentioned that earlier. If you're not, the problem is you got to compare it to Giant Growth. 1 green gives +3/+3. Monstrous Growth is like 1 green +1, give +4/+4. Both are instant. Both are instant, so you really need something that gives a lot more than +3/+3 or +4/+4. Because you're spending 5 mana on it. I'd say you have to be giving like at least +7 or +8. But, you know what? Might of Oaks, 4 mana, +7/+7. So this is a green more than Might of Oaks, which means, I might accept +7/+7, but you're fighting with Might of Oaks for that. So you really want this to be getting more than that, which means you need big stuff that you can cast. Like, you need stuff that costs more than 7 mana that you can get out fast. If you've got enough of it. And you could also, here's the other thing. If you're playing with things like, I was going to say Next Bloom Ancient, which would also help, but if you're playing with Nixos, Shrine of Nyx, and stuff of that nature, then sure, you can probably accelerate some really big stuff out fairly quickly. That, Next Lotus, etc. But yeah. If you're only getting +6/+6, I wouldn't bother. +5/+5, +6/+6, I wouldn't bother. +7, maybe. +8 is where I want it, or more. Woodcloaker. I think I passed on this in my commons only elf deck. Which is actually right here. 6 to cast or more for 4. For a 3/3. When it's turned face up, target creature gains trample till end of turn. I currently have this sorted by mana value. You are a 6-drop. Nope. Because I have Wildheart Invoker, which gives target creature for 8 mana. Target creature gets +5/+5 and gains trample till end of turn. Entourage of Trust gives, makes me the Monarch. Shrine Steward helps me find pieces. Spectral Hunt Caller, 5 mana, 4/4, Wolf Spirit. For green +5, creatures you control get +1/+1, gain trample till end of turn. Elvish Aberration, which could end up being cut at some point, unsure. 6 mana, 4/5 that taps for triple green or has 4 cycling. And Elder Life Mentor is in the wrong spot. You belong here. Yeah. Because the problem is, it only affects a single creature, and you're spending, realistically, you're spending 7 mana. 3 first and then 4 later. Or you're spending 6 mana on a 3/3. And because it's it's a turn it face up trigger, you can't cheat that. Titanic Bullfox, 8 mana for 7/4 tramples at Mars for 7. If you really need more, like, there's already a decent number of 6, 7, 8 mana, 6/6 and larger tramplers. If you need it, this exists, but you should be able to find enough that this would end up being cut. Break Asunder is naturalized at double the price as a sorcery with cycling. Play Wilt instead. It is literally naturalized with cycling 2. Wilt? Yes, Wilt. 1 green, 1 other, instant. Destroy target artifact enchantment. Cycling 2. If you want that effect, play this instead. Or, if you're looking at a 4 mana sorcery, find something that does more than just this. Creeping Mold, for example, also gives the ability of blowing up a land, for example. Or Brownlow Crush. Destroy target non-creature permanent, I think it is. If you're spending 4 mana on a sorcery, have it be worth 4 mana. Primitive Etchings. 2 green, 2 other. Reveal the first card you draw each turn. Whenever you reveal a creature card this way, draw a card. Gets you occasionally an extra card draw. You have to show what you're drawing every turn. But if it's a creature, you get an extra card. So you are drawing a card for a turn, but if it's a creature, you get an extra. And the rulings down here. If you have more than one of these on the battlefield, only one card is revealed because both of them reveal the same card. Both will trigger if this card is a creature and thereby allow you to draw 2 cards. So in other words, if you have this and say copy enchantment on it. Cool. I reveal the first card I draw each turn to both of them. And if it happens to be a creature card, I get to draw an extra card from this and an extra card from this. If you're looking for a Green Phyrexian Arena-ish card, Primitive Etchings is not bad. I would accept Primitive Etchings for that kind of slot. Werewood Guardian. Think I had this as a consideration for my mono green elves, and I think I finally said no because it didn't quite do enough. It's a 7 mana 6/6 with 4 cycling 2, but it's just a 6/6. If it was 6/6 trample or 6/6 reach or 6/6 tap for a green or something, I would have. It just needed to do something else. Not quite enough for me. Dragon Fangs. As I mentioned through the rest of the, this is the green member of the Dragon Enchantments. +1/+1 and trample. Can jump onto a creature if you've got an expensive creature that comes into play. You're playing with enough expensive creatures. Cool, I cast this on one of mine. Oh, it dies and this fell into the graveyard? Okay, next big creature I cast this jumps on. Oh, that died? Okay, next big creature I cast this jumps on. It keeps jumping around. Jump around. Jump up, and get down. Treetop Scout. 1 green for a 1/1. Cannot be blocked except by creatures with flying. Creatures with reach don't count. It actually has to be a flying creature, but this does not have flying. This is a green creature. This is a 1/1 green creature with flying without having flying. This is actually better than a 1/1 flyer for green because it can only be blocked by flyers. Creatures with reach don't count. Creatures with reach, such as Giant Spider, don't actually have flying, so they can't block this. Yeah. I think I actually have that in this deck because it's harder to block. Treetop Scout. No! I know I wanted to. Oh, did I put you in my regular one? I might have put in the regular one. I think I didn't do it. Oh no, I didn't do it in this one because I wanted more stuff that tap for mana. But I think maybe I put it in Golgari. Did I not? Treetop Scout. Oh, boo. I know I had it somewhere. I can't remember now. Go away. Really? I was sure I had a pair. I know I looked at it. I know I was thinking about it. But I guess not. That's a shame. Ancient Ooze. But yeah, I, again, if you want something that's basically a 1/1 flyer without being a 1/1 flyer, Treetop Scout. Ancient Ooze. Has total has parent toughness equal to the total mana value of other creatures you control. Tokens that say I'm a copy of X have the mana value of what they're copying. Like of what their token that's a copy of. So if you know, make a token that's a copy um of Stormcrow. Stormcrow is one blue, one other. So a token that's a copy of it is going to have is going to appear to have a cost of one blue, one other. So it'll have a mana value of two. Um, but anything that says make a token, create a block token, unless that block says, imposes a mana value or a mana cost, um, or appears to have a, you know, if it's not copying a thing, it's going to have a mana value of 0. So create a, create a 4/4 beast token, mana value 0. So those won't qualify. So, barring most tokens that'll get generated. This has got parent toughness equal to the combined mana value of everything else. So if you've got a 6-drop, a 4-drop, and a 12-drop, you're going to be looking at, cool, that's 22 mana. So this is a 22/22. Problem is, then you need something like Aggressive Mammoth or Akoma's Memorial or something to give it, because it's literally just a giant vanilla creature. It's going to be a huge vanilla creature, because if this is the top of your curve and you've got a 2-drop, a 3-drop, and a 5-drop, it's a 7 mana 10/10. But it's just a 7 mana 10/10. It has no abilities. It can get chump blocked all day long. So yeah, so that's a problem. Now, that being said, we only have 4 multicolored cards in the set. Only. Corona False God. Is a 6 mana, and in modern days would probably be Warburg plus a colorless mana. What people like to incorrectly term a wastes mana. But you get a 6 mana 5/5 with haste. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, they untap Corona and gain control of it. When she attacks, because I believe Corona, if memory serves me correctly, is like from what? Some combination of like Phage and Jessica or something like that. was manifestation. Being described as female. By the aggregation of Acroma, Phage, and Zagorka, who is what? Huh. Okay. Shark. Anyway, so is Phage. Wow. Did I forget already? Acroma. So it's like a merging of Phage, Acroma, and. Wait. Phage was like this evil minion thing. Acroma was an angel. Although I think a created angel. I don't remember. Um, and then a human. So basically, black plus white plus something that's neither. Kind of like an angel, a demon, and a Nephilim. Walked into a bar, etc. Anyway, um, when she attacks, creatures of your choice, creature type of your choice get +3/+3 till end of turn. So obviously you want to play this in a tribal deck. Incidentally, if you're playing an Avatar deck, and I mean Avatar the creature type, not Avatar the Last Airbender, Lost Airbender, whatever. Um, if you're doing that, you know, fine. You name Avatar. Corona's gonna get the +3 because it says creatures, not other creatures. Um, Funk. So she'll be an 8/8. Uh, yeah. Uh, you like playing a weird chaotic deck or something like that? The biggest problem with the biggest problem with Corona is the fact that somebody that's got like a bunch of like random like squirrel tokens, pardon me, squirrel tokens for example, that's going to start off as they're going. I named squirrel. Okay, they're now at least 4/4s plus whatever other buffs happen to be floating around. Will kill somebody possibly, and the person that controls Corona or that owns Corona will probably die at the end. But that's why. But yeah. You want to play chaotic shenanigans, and you want to play 5 color. Corona is a pretty good, general for shenanigans. Edgewalker. The first card to come out that allowed the cost of a card to be reduced by colored mana. Because you had stuff like Jet Medallion, reduce the cost of all black spells by a colorless mana. This would reduce the cost of cleric spells by black mana and white mana. Which hilariously meant that if you had Edgewalker out and you went to cast the second one would cost you 1 mana. No black mana, no white mana, just the colorless mana, which could be replaced with black or white when you try to pay for the cost, but whatever. Yeah. Enjoy. You obviously play this in a deck with enough clerics. Or changelings. And it says cleric spells. It doesn't say cleric creature spells. So if you're playing with changelings and you cast, I don't know, Nameless Inversion. It has changeling, so it has all creature types, which means it also has, it's also the cleric type. You can cast, this will reduce it from black +1 to 1. The black is knocked out. Enjoy. Sliver Overlord. Oh, I'm playing slivers? I want this in my 100 somewhere. I don't know if I want it to be my general or if I want it to be one of the 99, but I want it in there somewhere. You're playing slivers, you are playing this. Bladewing the Risen. Are you playing with dragons? Are you playing at least Rakdos? Yeah. This can also be a combo piece. This in combination with if you've got one of those things that's like whenever a creature comes in play or whenever a creature dies under your control, ping your opponent. Get this to reanimate something that can come into play as a copy of Bladewing. And so you just infinitely loop them. Yeah. Artifacts. Stabilize. Players can't cycle cards. It's fine. The biggest card, for the most part, people are just going to be cycling like certain lands, and that's about it. It's a rare time they're going to cycle something else unless they've got a deck based around cycling. In which case, let them cycle all they want, kill whatever their payoff is. Green and white have got great answers to those because they've got Beast Within and Generous Gift, both of which are, 3 mana instants that start off with Destroy Target Permanent. They get a 3/3 to replace it. But yeah. Or makes their cycling actually cost more. Cycling is an activated ability. If you can increase the cost of activated abilities. Arc of Blight, 2 mana artifact, 3 tap and sack it, destroy target land. I saw this back in the day. I thought this was going to be like a okay-ish replacement for like Strip Mine, for like standard or whatever. It never really caught on. But I mean, you playing Commander. If you don't have access to Strip Mine or Wasteland or whatever, maybe they're too expensive and you want something that can blow up target land. This is an artifact. Being able to recur artifacts is not actually hard. Bring back a 2 mana artifact from your graveyard is not hard. If you can bring it back into play, so much the better. Sanctum Gargoyle? Yeah, Sanctum Gargoyle. When it enters, you may return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. 4 mana for 2/3 with raised dead for artifacts instead of creatures. Start playing with cards like that and just go, hey, by the way, kill that. 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 Oh, look, my creature's dead? Okay, I'll bring that back, and then that comes into play and brings back my... Yeah. Proteus Machine. It's a 3 mana 2/2 that with a Morpha 0, so cast it face down, then turn it face up right away. When it's turned face up, it becomes the creature type of your choice. That's all it does. It's an extra cleric, or it's an extra shape, an extra dragon, or it's an extra jellyfish, or it's an extra something. And what do we get? Oh, Scourge brought us 1 land, which sees so much play, and some people are like, why do you keep playing this card? It's bad. Temple of the False God. It tries to be Soul Ring as a land. It tries to be Soul Ring as a land. It's okay. It's not insane, but it's okay. And its biggest drawback is it requires you to have like 4 other lands in play. Thankfully, it says 5 or more lands, not 5 or more other lands. So this can be your 5th land, which could bring you from, 4 to 6. Or from, because depending on what your mana base looks like. The problem with it, I think the biggest problem with this is you don't want to play this in the same deck in general as like balance lands or what do you call it? I can see you. Lotus Field. And the reason I bring those up specifically is because they will slow you down in mana development. This is trying to speed you up, but those are slowing you down, so it will take longer for this one to kick in. It is a land, though, so you can always, like, you have a Maya Cradle of Growth or Urborg Tome of Yawgmoth and do that and at least get it to tap for something until you can have it turn into a Soul Ring as well. But yeah, that's it for tonight. I think next week we'll finally be back on Tuesdays regularly, we hope. Um, and at that point, I think next week we're going to start doing some of the oddball sets that came out before Mirrodin did. So we'll be looking at stuff like Starter 99 and Starter 2000 and Portal Second Age, Portal Three Kingdoms. It might take about, might take a few weeks to get through those, but I'm going to get through those. And hopefully before October starts, we'll be able to start on actual, actual factual, starting off with actual Mirrodin. So, I don't know. Hopefully by the end of the year we got, what, Mirrodin. We might be, so starting next year, we might be jumping in a time. So starting in 2026, haven't done the actual math, but we might be jumping in a time spiral by then. I'll try and figure out a way to pull it off so we get to time spiral then. No promises, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's it for tonight. See you guys all next week. Should be back on Tuesday, barring shenanigans going on. Anyway, have a good night, everyone. Bye.